It was just a week before Christmas 2010. Bristol was dressed in white. Snow dusted the streets. Fairy lights shimmered from every window. Inside a cozy flat on Canongate Road, 25-year-old Joanna Yeates was wrapping up her week, ready for the holidays. She was young, bright, a landscape architect who had just landed a job she loved. That Friday evening, she joined her colleagues for a drink, laughing, chatting, making weekend plans. Around 8 p.m., she said goodbye and walked into the cold night, completely unaware that she had only hours left to live. When Joe's boyfriend, Greg, returned home 2 days later from a weekend away, he opened the door expecting the smell of dinner, her smile, maybe the warmth of a heater humming. Instead, the apartment was silent. Her coat was on the hook, her purse and keys inside, even her cat fed. But Joe was gone. Her phone sat on the table, switched off. It was the first sign that something wasn't right. Greg called police immediately, and within hours, officers from Avon and Somerset Constabulary launched a missing person inquiry. They began retracing every moment of Joe's last known evening. CCTV cameras along her route were checked one by one. Grainy images showing her buying a pizza at Tesco Express at 8:40 p.m. That was the last confirmed sighting. From that moment, she had simply vanished. Police combed the Clifton area, knocking on doors, searching parks, riversides, alleyways, anywhere a clue might hide. They interviewed her friends, co-workers, neighbors, even her landlord. Posters with Joe's face appeared across the city. "Missing, please, help us find Joe." As days passed, Bristol united. Hundreds of volunteers joined the search. Her parents made public appeals, standing in the cold, voices shaking, pleading for her safe return. But on Christmas morning, hope turned to heartbreak. A couple walking their dog near a quarry in Fayland, just a few miles away, noticed something pale against the snow. It was Joe's body. Wrapped in the frozen silence of that winter morning, the truth began to surface. She had been strangled. The investigation shifted overnight. What began as a missing person case became Operation Braid, one of the largest murder investigations in the history of the force. More than 80 detectives worked around the clock. Forensic teams scoured her flat inch by inch. Carpets, kitchen counters, drain pipes, the back of the fridge. They took thousands of photographs, bagged fibers, fingerprints, even dust. Her front door showed no forced entry, suggesting she had let her killer in. Someone she knew or trusted. Detectives turned to technology. They mapped her phone activity, checked local cell tower pings, reviewed hours upon hours of CCTV from nearby streets. Joe's movements were precise up until she entered her flat that night. After that, nothing. So where had she gone, and who had gone with her? Early suspicion fell on her landlord, a quiet, eccentric man named Christopher Jeffries who lived in the same building. He had been one of the last people to see her alive. The police questioned him, and tabloids exploded with wild headlines. But as investigators dug deeper, the evidence simply didn't fit. He was released, entirely innocent. The real killer was still out there. Forensic scientists then discovered something tiny, almost invisible. Fibers on Joe's body and clothing that didn't match her own. Under a microscope, they matched the unique weave of a particular jacket. Another trace on her body carried degraded DNA. It wasn't enough to form a complete profile until experts in London used advanced amplification techniques to enhance it. When the result came back, It pointed to someone much closer than anyone imagined. Her next-door neighbor, Vincent Tabak. Tabak was a 32-year-old engineer, intelligent, quiet, and seemingly polite. He lived with his girlfriend in the flat next door. Detectives had already interviewed him early on, but he'd seemed cooperative, even helpful. But now, the DNA, the fibers, and new CCTV evidence told a darker story. On January 20th, 2011, police surrounded his building. Inside, Tabak was calm, too calm. As detectives searched, they seized his laptop, phone, and car. What they found was chilling. In the days after Joe vanished, he had searched online for length of time before a body decomposes and how long DNA lasts. He'd even looked up news articles about the case he himself had caused. During questioning, Tabak changed his story multiple times. He claimed he'd accidentally killed Joe during a misunderstanding, that she had screamed, and he panicked. But the forensic evidence told the truth. Her injuries showed sustained pressure, far too long for an accident. It was cold, deliberate violence. Police reconstructed the likely sequence. Joe opened her door that night, perhaps recognizing her neighbor. Inside, Tabak made an advance. Unwanted resisted. He strangled her in a sudden violent outburst, then carried her body to his car, driving through the snowy streets to dump her near the quarry. Later, he returned to clean up, thinking he'd erased his crime. But the tiniest fibers, the faintest traces of DNA, had already sealed his fate. The trial in October 2011 revealed every grim detail. The prosecution presented fiber charts, DNA results, and the chilling internet searches. Witnesses described Tabak's odd behavior after the murder, how he'd joined community searches for Joe, pretending to help. The jury listened, horrified as the forensic pathologist described the struggle Joe endured in her final moments. When the verdict came, the courtroom was silent. Guilty of murder, Vincent Tabak was sentenced to life in prison to serve at least 20 years. For Joe's family, no sentence could fill the emptiness she left behind. They had lost a daughter, a sister, a friend, just days before Christmas. Her father said, "We will never again hear her laughter, but we're grateful to those who brought her killer to justice." The Joe Yeates case remains one of the most heartbreaking and meticulously solved murders in recent British history. Not because of luck, but because of relentless detective work, science, and the truth hidden in the smallest details. Sometimes it's the tiniest fiber, the faintest trace, the one clue that whispers the name of a killer when everything else has gone silent.